Welcome back to Amerisogyny. I'm your host, Hannah Blue. You're listening to episode 75, Still We Rise. Before we get started, I'm going to ask you a question. How are you today? I know. But I have news for you. It's going to be okay. You are going to be okay. Now you might say, well, Hannah, how? I'm a woman. I'm a member of the LGBTQIA community. How do you think I'm going to be okay? I have one answer for you. God. And it's okay if you don't believe in him. I have enough faith for all of us. We are going to be okay. I've been thinking all week about the number of women and children and even some men that were affected by the results of the election. And let me say, I never realized just how many people rested their hopes on the shoulders of Vice President Harris. The outpouring, the show of love that people gave to her was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. I saw somebody post that they were ashamed to be an American. Let me tell you something, I'm not. And if you showed up and showed out for Vice President Harris, you shouldn't be ashamed to be American either. Let me speak for the Black community, both Black women and Black men. We showed up and showed out. We did our job. And you know what? We always do. But what's done is done. And my focus is on you. I want to make sure that you are okay mentally, spiritually. So in the upcoming weeks, I'm going to make the episodes much lighter and brighter until we get back on the right path. Now, we are advocates. We're never going to stop advocating for the rights of people, but now is not the time to do that. Right now, we need to be showing each other love and compassion and mercy. And I'm only talking about the ones who are capable of doing it. I'm not talking about anybody from that other side. I'm talking about us, the ones who believe in democracy, equality, freedom. You know who you are. I don't think it's much, but it's all I can do for you, bringing you feel-good stories that will take your mind off of everything that has happened and everything that is going to happen. And let me make you a promise right now. When the new administration comes in, they will never be talked about on this podcast. And I mean that. No matter what happens, I refuse to give that administration a space in the very safe space I have created for myself and my listeners. I love advocating for people. It's what I do, and it's who I am. But now is not the time. Now is the time to take a short break from advocacy and focus on your well-being. I truly believe there is a time for everything. So allow me to open up with a scripture. Ecclesiastes 3, a time for everything. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet, no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live, that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it, and nothing taken from it. God does it so that his people will fear him. Denzel Washington said something earlier this year that I felt was very poignant and honest and true. He doesn't shy away from talking about God and his faith. He said that God is sending us a message. Open your eyes. It's not a joke. I believe that. There are things that God knows and God sees that we aren't privy to. We can't get in the way of his plans. But what we can do is look to each other and support each other in any way we can. So without further ado, let's get into episode 75. I had to revamp this episode. It was almost done, and I had to throw out the material that I had. Again, this is not the time to advocate. It's time to focus on each other. So let's get into it. Now, today we won't be traveling around the world, but I have a whole lot of feel-good stories and some things that are guaranteed to put a smile on your face. Now, if you've been listening to me for a while, you know that I love books, and with good reason, especially poetry. Emily Dickinson once wrote, "If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain." Spot on. Our first order of business is always to keep our minds healthy, but our bodies as healthy as well. So let's talk about pomegranates. I found some cool facts on pomegranates that I would like to share with you. So here we go. From weight management to skin health, here are some good benefits of pomegranates. Number 1, they are rich in antioxidants and they help fight oxidative stress and inflammation. Pomegranates are good for your heart. They help lower blood pressure and cholesterol levels, and this reduces the risk of heart disease. They can also improve your cardiovascular health. Pomegranates are anti-inflammatory. Their compounds can help reduce inflammation in the body, and inflammation is linked to many chronic diseases. As we get older, ladies, inflammation becomes the front runner for things going wrong in the body. Look up the benefits of eating foods that are low in inflammation. I'm telling you, I had to recently change my diet, and it works wonders. Pomegranates fight cancer. According to research, the pomegranate extract may curb the growth of cancer cells, particularly in prostate and breast cancers. Pomegranate juice can help improve your memory. Oxidation is a process that leads to aging, but pomegranates contain antioxidants, and they help to enhance memory and cognitive functioning. The best pomegranate juice on the market, in my opinion, is POM. And if you live in the South and shop at Food Lion, it's on sale for $3 a bottle. You know me, I'm always looking for a good deal. I'm also looking for anything that can help me manage my weight, and that's exactly what pomegranates do. The nutrients and vitamins they carry work together to help you feel full. And we know what happens when we feel full. We eat less. They're also very visually appealing. The holidays are coming up. Christmas is my favorite holiday. They make really pretty decorations. Get some bowls or baskets from Michaels or Joann Fabrics and fill them up with pomegranates. Not only will they make your house smell amazing, they add a bit of touch and class to your Christmas decorations. On top of being pretty, they're also good to eat. And speaking of good things to eat, you'll be happy to know Starbucks holiday menu is back. Let's talk about it. As of November 7th, you now have all of the yummy things I'm going to talk about. Let's see what they're bringing back. Number 1 is their peppermint mocha. And this drink features Starbucks signature espresso roast, steamed milk, mocha sauce, and peppermint syrup. It's topped with whipped cream and dark chocolate swirls. Now, I don't know about you, but I love mint chocolate anything. Mint chocolate drinks, mint chocolate ice cream. Oh my God, I love Christmas time and I love the treats. So when you have the time, pick up a peppermint mocha from Starbucks. Now, Starbucks isn't paying me to promote them, but I don't mind sharing this with you. Number 2 is the caramel brulee latte. And this is espresso roast, steamed milk, and caramel brulee sauce. And it's topped with whipped cream and caramel brulee bits. Up next is the chestnut praline latte. It has espresso roast, steamed milk, chestnut flavor, and spices. And it's topped with whipped cream and spiced praline crumbs. The next one is something I think my sister will love. It's the iced sugar cookie almond milk latte. Now that's a mouthful. It has espresso, cookie-flavored syrup, ice, and almond milk. And it's topped with red and green sprinkles. Oh yeah, almond milk. She would definitely like that. They also have a cranberry orange refresher. My niece would like that. A cranberry orange lemonade refresher. Now that sounds good. And a cranberry drink with creamy coconut milk. Now, I love coconut milk, so I'll definitely be trying that. I'm going to try a couple of these. A cranberry bliss bar, a sugar plum cheese Danish, and a turkey sage Danish. Now that I would like to try. For the kiddies, they have a snowman cake pop and a penguin cookie. And of course, they have their holiday cups. Now, I said we wouldn't be making any stops today, but here's an important story. The Family Crisis Center of East Texas is looking for donations for their holiday food drive. They provide 3 meals a day and snacks to around 30 people every day. The Family Crisis Center helps survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault, and they need food and non-holiday items. Are you ready for the list? Okay. Cake mix, icing for cookies and cake, brownie mix, diced tomatoes, pasta, sugar, brown and white, cornbread, coffee creamer, cereal, jelly, tuna fish, crackers, ramen, Chef Boyardee, packets of ranch mix, English peas, green beans, dish soap, salt, tea, and Kool-Aid. Now you can drop these things off Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at any outreach office. They're asking to please call the offices because their hours are limited, and the last day to donate is December 6th. The Family Crisis Center is doing the Lord's work. Let's help them out. Are you ready for some feel-good stories? Me too. This one is called Proud Dad Moment. Today, my daughter was at work when a mother with 2 young children had her card fail after ordering food. She rang her partner and he was berating her on the phone. My daughter, seeing the woman upset, stepped up and bought the food for the mother and children. So proud. Oh yeah, he raised a good daughter. Story number 2. A random act of kindness at a pizza restaurant. I coordinate a weekly social dinner group for young people who experience mild intellectual disability. Tonight, we were at a pizza restaurant in Hawthorne. We were celebrating a participant's birthday, and the couple at the next table started chatting to me. We spoke about how the group runs and how we choose the venues. They asked a lot of questions and were very interested in what we do each week. I offered them the spare birthday cake, but they declined and left the restaurant soon after wishing our participant a happy birthday. After about 15 minutes, I went to pay the bill, and to my astonishment, our $300 account had been entirely covered by this couple. The waiter said this had never happened in the time he had worked there, and he was just as gobsmacked. The group was totally amazed that 2 strangers could and would do such a generous thing without leaving any details. If these 2 folk see this post, please accept our sincere thanks and be assured that your generosity was most appreciated. We have decided as a group to repay you by paying it forward to someone else. Thank you. Our next story. I rescued some dogs stuck on a wilderness cliff today. Went for a walk out past my property today and decided to go down towards the river through the ravines and cut through the cliff's sides. About 1.5 miles from my house, 2 dogs started howling in that "don't come any closer to me" bark. I couldn't see them, but they were so loud as their howls echoed up the rocky ridges. At this point, there are no people for at least 1.5 miles, and certainly no domestic dogs out there. So I started looking. Up the cliff side, I see 2 beagles. I climbed about 50 feet up to them. The female is pinned between the log and the embankment and can't move. The male is so weak, he could only move a couple steps to try to fend me off before having to lay down. No cell phone service, and on a sharp, slippery face, I sat there and earned the male's trust. After about 30 minutes, the female still wouldn't let me get close without biting at me, and dusk was coming. With all the predators in my woods, I figured they wouldn't make it another night. I decided to block her from falling past me and pulled the log out that was pinning her. She was now free, and I could see that she was very pregnant too. Not knowing how to get them down, he's too weak to walk and she will bite me if I try to touch her. I decided to try to get her to follow me by carrying him. It worked. I led her down the safest way I could. More than an hour later, I lugged that soon-to-be dad up the cliffs and out of the ravines with her slowly following. It blows my mind how loyal the male was to be on that cliffside with her for so long that he could barely walk. Got home and the police couldn't find any microchips on them, and no one has claimed them on the local social media yet. Calling shelters in the morning. If it doesn't work out, I suppose they get to start their new family with a new family of their own. I don't know what to call them yet, but my story makes me smile. Update. The owner found our post and reached out. She was overjoyed that we brought the dogs into our house and kept them safe. The dogs' names were Copper and Toddy, as in hot toddy, and went missing on October 30th. Copper likes to chase deer and always comes home afterwards. He said it was unusual for Toddy to go with him. He also said that the two dogs were inseparable, which explains why Copper never left Toddy when she was stuck on that cliffside. The family received reports that the dogs were seen going the opposite direction from where I found them, and it's why my area was never searched. My kids grew very attached to the dogs, and the mother and son said they bring them over to play with my kids anytime they wanted to, and that made me happy to hear. It turns out Toddy was not pregnant after all. She was just heavyset around the midsection. That is too cute. Our next feel-good story is this one. An act of kindness by a mom in our community. I wanted to share an act of kindness by a mom in our community. One of the girls my daughter goes to school with is in a single-parent family, and her mom can't drive due to a disability. With no other family around, it would be very difficult for the girl to acquire the number of driving hours she needed to take a driving test. So the friend's mom stepped in and had the girl drive their car whenever the girls were together. So now the girl has her driver's license and is working a couple of part-time jobs to save up for a car. The mom's act of kindness has opened up options and life opportunities for this well-deserving girl. Now that's what's up. Here's a nice story for the holidays. Christmas caroling. We started going Christmas caroling every December sophomore year. I'll always remember this elderly woman. It was her first Christmas since her husband had passed. She invited us in and gave us some hot apple cider. We chatted about her life, our lives, and the many vintage Christmas decorations she had around the house. We stayed for about 30 minutes, and she told us that we must have been real-life Christmas angels, as she was starting to feel very lonely with the holidays approaching. We made sure to swing by her house every year from that point on. And that's so important, especially around the holidays, making connections with people so they don't feel so alone. We're almost down to the last of our feel-good stories, but here's another good one. Each day is a new beginning. It is the morning of my 58th birthday as I write this. This actually means I have lived 58 full years here on Earth, and I'm starting into day one of my 59th. That is a lot of miles under the hood. When I looked in the mirror this morning, I could see the wear and tear on my body too. My hair was sparse and silver, my skin was thin, my face full of age spots, and my wrinkles were chiseled deep into my skin. Yet I smiled and I saw them curl up around my eyes and the corner of my mouth. I had to admit that they didn't look half bad. I thought of how much laughter and how many thousands of smiles it had taken to make them that deep, and it made me smile again. In my 58 years here, I have shared a lot of love, a lot of laughter, a lot of smiles, and a lot of joy. I have done countless acts of kindness, asking nothing in return. I have spoken sweet words, done good things, and tried my best to live my life the way that God wanted me to. I haven't always succeeded, of course, but I know that God forgives me when I mess up and that each new day is another chance to live and to love. I know too that I am not alone in this. The vast majority of us are good people, doing good things, sharing kindness and love, and trying each day to make the world a better place. We are all here to make a difference with our lives, and God smiles down upon us every time we do. We all know that life has a purpose, and that purpose is to love. No act of love or kindness is too small either. As Emily Dickinson said, "If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain." No matter how many years you have lived, remember that each day is a new beginning. Each day here is a new birthday. Embrace them all. Fill them with goodness. Live them with smiles, laughter, and joy. Be kind. Share all the love you can and make God smile. I love that story. And our last story of the day, faith is what you do. I was a young man finishing up my teaching degree at college. I was driving to a high school to do my student teaching in my 20-year-old car. To say it was a piece of junk would have been an understatement. It had broken down several times, and my dad had tried to fix it. Still, it burned oil, backfired, and got about 5 miles to a gallon of gas. It also had flat tires more than once, so I had a jack, a crowbar, and a spare in my trunk ready to go. It was all I could afford, so I prayed to God as I drove along that it would last one more day. As I drove down the interstate on the way to the school, I noticed something up ahead on the other side of the 4-lane road. It was a car parked to the side. As I got closer, I noticed it had a flat tire. An elderly lady was standing next to it, not knowing what to do. I knew I would be late for classes, but decided to turn at the next exit, head back to her, and help. It took about 5 minutes, but I made the turn. I was almost back when I saw 2 pickup trucks parked in front and one in back of the car. One man in a flannel shirt was already jacking up the car, while another burly-looking man was talking to the old lady and holding her hand like he was her own grandson. I slowed, pulled up, and asked if they needed any help. The lady said, "No thanks, dear. These wonderful gentlemen are taking care of it." I waved and drove on to another exit to turn back on my lane. But as I did, I noticed there was a smile on her face and a happiness in her heart. It felt good to know that there were still so many good people out there. Looking back on this reminds me that faith isn't just what you believe, it's what you do. Love isn't just how you feel, it's how you act. May all of your days be full of faith and love. May all of your days be filled with acts of kindness. May you always live as a good person and as a wonderful child of God. Now that is a good note to end it on. Listeners, I wish all of that for you. I don't want you to look at this as a time with fear and worry and anxiety. I want you to look at the blessings that are coming your way. I want you to latch on to all the good people who still exist in this world. Darkness may come, and there's nothing we can do about it. But trust me when I tell you, there is a purpose for your life. Don't give up. Don't give up hope, and don't give up on yourselves. I hope these stories that I brought you today were able to bring you some comfort, and I'm looking forward to the next time we meet. And with that, I'm out of time. If you got anything out of today's episode, feel free to follow me on Podbean, Spotify, Samsung, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube Music, and more. And one more thing before I go. Did I tell you that Platerius, my new trilogy, is based on an all-female army? That's right. If there was ever a time to write about powerful females, it was now. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I just wrote it. So, the release date of Platerius Infiltration Book 1 is on January January 18th, 2025. If you still believe in powerful women, I want you to run out and get your copy. You won't be disappointed. I will be back with more stories. Until then, be easy, take care of yourselves and each other, and as always, God